This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light.
Yes.
Brought to you by Foreman, Watson, Holtree, FWHlegal.com. We are situated in the high-rise, two-story white brick edifice at 530 Frederick Street. We're in the multi-purpose room. That's for you, Kendall.
Right, regardless of what she thinks.
This is a multi-purpose room.
It is.
We take depositions in here. We record videos in here.
Mm-hmm.
We record podcasts in here.
We do.
We even eat in here as a fan.
We do. And occasionally, I think some of these books are looked at.
Sometimes.
Very rare.
You probably look at them more often than others.
Well, especially the old ones. The old ones have
they
like a lot of,
intrigue you.
like really interesting. I love that old book smell too.
All right.
Not like in a weird way. It's just there's something about the smell of, I don't know if it's the old paper or what, but I just like the smell of an old book.
Okay, well, today we will not be sniffing old books on the podcast.
That's next week.
That's next week. Couple things we're going to check off the list real quick is that we are soon going to be recording some new vids around here.
We are.
Of the welcome videos and kind of redoing some things, shaking the dust off the old books, so to speak.
Right.
And thank you to Audra for recommending that. She was just like, look, I look at these and I'm looking at them through the eyes of somebody that I don't like them. I was like, okay, fair enough. Thank you for the criticism.
And it's getting me closer to liking her.
Yeah, right. Next year when when Kendall asks which person on staff we like the least, right, Audra will have hopefully moved up.
Right. But by then Chris will be gone, so I could just say Chris.
Chris is gone.
Is he
gone?
He
still comes back to check some things, but he's officially first of the year was his.
Okay. Well, the only reason I saw him in here.
He was here yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Picking up a Court of Appeals opinion where he won.
Oh,
in the
congratulations.
Court of Appeals, yes. It was a divorce case that had gone up on appeal.
Okay.
And Chris, it was his last big case that was open.
All right.
And it just was weird. He was like, I don't know how long they're going to have that. You never know how long the Court of Appeals is going to take. You know? But they briefed it and came back, and Chris won. We've talked about this on past podcasts, sort of the appellate process. But you can still ask for what's called discretionary review from the Supreme Court now. Probably won't. The Supreme Court, it's not a real unique issue that was there.
Yeah.
So it's highly doubtful that the Supreme Court will want to take discretionary review. So most likely Chris is done.
Okay.
So
I figured he was in here multi-purposing.
Yeah, that's what he does in here. Multi-purposing. But anyway, so we have some things going on. I know you're busy with those. A new nonprofit has knocked on the door, I guess, and asked for some assistance. Who was that, by the way?
It was the Blood Center.
Oh,
which is right up my alley.
Oh,
ironically,
you are going to be able to have fun with that one, aren't you?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's funny is the guy that reached out to us. His name's Colin Morris, and I've known him for years. And I don't know anybody else by that name. So when I was like, I wonder if that's the Colin I know. So when I responded, I put my name in there. And then we ended up talking on Facebook after that. And I was like, I thought that was you.
Well, good. Yeah, he reached out to us through our contact page on the website. And then I forwarded it to you and said, dot the I, cross the T right here. And it worked out. And just in case there are some that listen that are plugged into the nonprofit world, what we're talking about is our law firm. We do fundraising videos or special event videos for nonprofits free of charge. These are not just, take a few snapshots and put them to music.
Right.
These are professional grade. It's what you would pay thousands of dollars to go out and get done. We will provide the both capturing the video, editing to a final product video for your nonprofit, free of charge. The only thing that we ask is that at the beginning, there's like a 2 or 3 second thing that says FWH Legal Productions, or Media Production.
Media Arts, yep.
And at the end, it says the same, it's produced by Foreman Watson Holtree. I've lost count of how many we've done. It's not something that we, in the immediate future, are going to get rid of. It's something I think we can continually give back to the community. So if you or someone you know is a part of a nonprofit, we will certainly stand and put you in the line up of getting these done. So,
and if you're asking yourself, do we qualify? If you're nonprofit, the answer is yes, because we've done everything.
Yeah, well, I was explaining that to somebody last week that we actually did one for like a library.
Yeah, we did a library. We've done Friends of Sinners, Boys and Girls Club,
Dance
Goodfellows, Owensboro Dance Theater, Bullware. Yeah, we've done the Senior Center. So we've done a whole slew.
St. Benedict's, maybe. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
We did a golf, and then that was one you didn't do, but we did a golf, and then we did a
hospice was another one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we've done. At this point we've ran the gamut.
But there's many nonprofits.
Oh yeah,
many that have such good missions.
There's 2 others that I'm working on now. The Blood Center, they're trying to figure out exactly
what they want,
what it is that they're wanting to do, and then they're going to get back to us.
Good.
So,
and then who's the other one you're on right now?
The H.L. Neblett Center and Goodfellows. It's interesting. So I sat down with Goodfellows last February to come up with I have the brainstorming session. A majority of the stuff that they wanted to cover didn't happen until November, December. That gave them time to figure out how they wanted the narrative to come into play. So mainly they had me sit down with a bunch of different volunteers and staff members. They tell the story. And then in November and December, I went to, a symphony, a Christmas party, and another event. This one's been one that's like a year in the making.
They all have a different look, a different feel. The people, you have to trust that they know what's best for their particular nonprofit. Right. So I want to talk a little bit about, this is sort of a personal thing that's been going on, to report some good news. And this guy's like a part of our family, so I kind of wanted to touch on this. You've met my stepfather, David, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. I think
twice.
I think maybe one time you had kind of a little bit of a talk with him just because he was interested in what you do.
Yeah.
My stepfather, David Dunlap, he and my mom have been married, I believe, 30 years. It's my mom's second marriage. David is a fabulous man, very talented, very, very intelligent, has taken perfect care of my mother. So to me, he's up on that list of people that are icons, right? Because he's taken such good care of my mom. A little bit about Dave. Dave's specialty, what he did, was a sound engineer. For people that don't know what when movies are cut, the film is recorded, but then music is digitally put into the score or put into the film.
Yeah.
And for a long time they did not have digital sound banks. They would have to go out and record a sound and then get it into the movie.
Right. You're talking about the Foley artist.
Yes, right. Yeah. So, they would the sound of a piece of paper ripping, they would record that, and then they'd have to put it into the film if in a part of a film somebody was ripping up a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So Dave worked for NBC Studios and did all that sound engineering.
That's awesome. Did I know this?
I don't know if you did or not.
I don't think I did.
Yeah. His specialty was cartoons. He worked on a lot of cartoons.
Okay.
Putting sound and stuff into. One of his claims to fame is the opening scene of A Few Good Men, where they are going up and down with the rifle corps.
Mm-hmm.
And they're showing the rifle.
Right. Yeah.
That piece of that movie David worked on.
That's
putting
awesome.
all that.
It's a great movie too.
All those. I mean, if you've ever seen that opening scene where it's showing the guys with the white gloves doing all the rifle work up and down the rifle corps. That's what Dave did before he met my mom. Then when he met my mom, it wasn't long before they took off to go to the mission field as missionaries, which has taken them to Ethiopia, Morocco, southern Spain. The big part of that, Dave did translation projects where he was an editor for translating the Bible into other languages, and he would listen and he would make sure, because they wanted it to be very accurate. And they worked with a special people group called the Rifi Berber, who spoke a language that was not written down, but it was a spoken language. So you can imagine they would get Rifi people to read from English into it, but then he would come through and edit it, to make sure.
Right.
I don't know if they got the full Bible done, but like they would do it by books, and they did the Gospels, and then they did Acts, and then they did Romans, and then they did Genesis, and then they did it. That's what Dave spent the better part of his time over there doing, while Mom ran guest house and worked with different sets of refugees and things. They were on the mission field, and they would come home for a year or two, which is common for missionaries to try to revamp their support, their economic support. And then they go back over, and then they come back. So Dave had just turned 76, Mom 75. They were like, while we feel great, while we still think, we're doing super, it may be time from a responsibility standpoint for us to head home, be closer to our kids.
So they were still doing that in their 70s?
They did it up till age 76 and 75, yes,
wow.
respectively.
That's awesome.
So they came home this past April, and it was for good. And their plan was to spend 6 months out of the year in Glasgow, where their best friends live. And those people own a very large farm, and they have like an apartment away from their house.
Yeah.
And so Mom and Dave were going to live there. And then during the cold months, Mom and Dave still had a little place, a little condo, not on the beach or anything, but in Pensacola, Florida. So that was their plan. Well, in July, Dave had a brain bleed and had to have surgery, and that was done in Louisville. And he bounced back and was doing wonderful. Well, I was like, oh man, isn't that perfect? They came home.
Just in time.
They came home, right. And he had to have this massive brain surgery done that was performed at University of Louisville. And man, in August, Dave was like, it was like he was 50 again. I mean, the guy was walking 2 and 3 miles a day, doing all of his work and things like that. But in late September, early October, Dave started having some fevers. And, you get a fever, you think, well, I got some kind of either virus or infection. Goes to the doctor, they give him a antibiotic, steroid to knock it out, and it kind of lowers it for a few days, and then boom, the fever would be back really bad. And Dave got to where every time one of those fevers would hit, he'd become less and less capable of ordinary life. It got to where he was not able to walk, he was incontinent. I mean, it got really bad.
Yeah.
So as you know, we brought him to, after Thanksgiving, when I saw him at Thanksgiving, Missy said to me, Travis, I don't want to alarm anybody, but I'm looking at a man who is dying, and there's something that's doing it. You need to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
The decision was made to bring Dave to our house. And after the first day at our house, physically, I couldn't move him. Like I tried to help him walk, and he just couldn't do it. We took him over to Deaconess Gateway. Now, that was on December the 1st that we took him to Deaconess. Today is January the 12th, and Dave is still at Deaconess Gateway. So he's been there for 43 days. During that time, every test that you can imagine has been done. At first, they thought it was some kind of blood cancer, so they did a bone marrow study. They did a spinal tap because they thought maybe this was some form of encephalitis, which is where the fluid-filled spaces of the brain are attacked by antibodies that think the brain is evil. But it ended up not being that.
Right.
They found no mass. They did not find one mass growing anywhere in his body. They did blood labs, urine labs, blood cultures, everything you can think of, MRIs, CT scans. I mean, the man's been looked at from head to toe, and they were like, he's an enigma. We have no idea what is going on with him. And it got so bad that on the night before Tyler's wedding, I got a phone call. I was at the mall in Evansville with Missy, and my mom said, Travis, I want to put him on a vent.
Jeez.
And I was just like, Mom, he doesn't want to be on a vent. He doesn't want to be on a vent.
Right.
I was like, they were feeding him through a nasal tube at that point. You would walk in, it would be like me saying, PJ, who am I? PJ, who am I? And getting right in your face and doing that. And he would just stare at me. He couldn't lift his hands. He just was laying in bed, dying.
So was he incapable of speaking? Was that?
If he spoke, it didn't make sense. And if he spoke, it was like, if you were to ask him, I don't know, what color is that bag? He'd go, red. That's how long it would take to get out, even if he would answer, okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what it got to. His daughter-in-law, he has a son named Chris. His daughter-in-law is a physician down in Florida. She's a pediatrician. And she was starting to read through these things and read all of his records and everything they'd done. She was staying in touch with the doctors. And this young doctor took over. They do like 9-day assignments, the hospitalists do. And he's had, let me say this, I am bragging. It's rare for me to brag on healthcare, right?
Right.
I am bragging on Deaconess Gateway. Like the nurses, the doctors, I mean, everybody we've encountered has just been unbelievably friendly, gone out of their way. But these hospitalists work 7 to 9 day shifts, and so they'll have your patient for 7 or 9 days, and then they move on. Well, we got this young one, and he stayed in touch with Dave's daughter-in-law. You know, they were both basically saying, you know, it's probably a shot in the dark, but let's run a histoplasmosis study on him in blood culture and see what it shows. Histoplasmosis is rare. I mean, it is rare. It's a fungal infection of your blood. The reason it's rare is that our body fights off the fungus. It's a spore from dirt. It's a mold spore that's in dirt. And our body encounters it all the time. And you and I have probably been exposed to it a gazillion times, and our body just fights it off. They ran this blood culture, which is a rare blood culture. I mean, it's just like, it's specific to histoplasmosis. Dave has histoplasmosis. There is a special medicine that you get by IV 6 hours a day, and then you're off of it. Dave went from having 5 or 6 tubes into his port, you know, like different oxygen. He was on feeding tube. He had 6 or 7 different medications, IVs, all this. He was, you know, and he went from that to now only needing that one medication given to him.
That's awesome.
Once a day. Yesterday, they sent a video to me where Dave stood up out of his chair, like with help, you know,
right,
on a walker, took 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. Should be a song. And he, you know, he's like, I'm tired, but it was the first time he'd gotten up and taken steps in probably a month and a half. I was like, oh yes, you know, we're seeing progress. Well, today, and I had something else I was planning on talking about today, but I was just this is why I'm building up to this. As I was parking my car, I get a video from my mom. PJ, this video, Dave had walked out of the room about 15 steps with a walker, and they have a chair right behind him just in case he goes back. But he walked 15 steps out of the room, turned around, and walked back into the room on a walker. So yesterday 2 steps, today about 30. And
that's awesome.
And he's only been on that medication for a week. He has 5 more weeks on it. And 5 more weeks, if you can imagine the improvement over a week, what he's gonna is gonna do. So we are just beside ourselves, happy and jubilant. You know, it's like
right.
And then just to think, you know, they thought this was just going to be a shot in the dark, and they told us, they actually said, don't get your hopes up. You know, we're going to do one more test. If I heard them say it once, I heard.
Which I get why they do that. You know.
Yeah, we're gonna do one more test, and it's like, don't get your hopes up. And it came back. That's what it was.
So that is it. That's the one thing that's wrong with him.
Because of the attack of histoplasmosis on his body, it attacks all your systems. Like if it doesn't get addressed, it'll attack your lungs, your heart, your brain. I mean, he had open heart surgery, but it caused him to get into AFib, which a lot of people have AFib. You just have to take medicine to address it. It heightened his AFib, so he had to be put on a heart pill, you know.
Now, is that temporary, or is that just going to be permanent?
No, he'll probably have it because
there is some permanent damage.
Yes, and we don't know cognitively what he'll get back. They're already starting to work on some testing and some concentration skills and things like that, as well as the physical. So the plan is to get him into a rehab hospital now for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then hopefully he'll be in a situation where we'll be able to be independent living.
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I share that because here's the deal. and this is what I want people to know about the attorneys here. Number one is that I haven't been able to carry 100% of the weight that I normally carry during this time, okay? And I have had, all the attorneys here have helped. Holly has helped by covering a deposition in Cincinnati for me. Tyler has met with multiple clients for me and made a court appearance. Davin has handled several appearances, taken a couple new client cases. Everybody from not just the attorneys, but they all jumped in to help. And that's what I tell people, that when they come to Foreman Watson Holtree, they're coming to our family. And our family is built the way a good, strong family that you see,
right,
is built. And it is, when you're down, we'll pick you up. When you need help, we're there for you. During all of this, you may even remember, like I came in, I think, one morning to record a radio spot. And I started reading. I sound funny. I said, I'm sorry. I said, I've been crying.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That was right when I thought we were losing him, and my mom was beside herself. And so, but during this entire time, everybody's had my back and they've been there. The other thing is that because of the way we're set up, I've been able to plug that computer in and sit in that hospital room and work for hours and stay pretty much caught up on my work because of the way we are organized around here, the way we're set up to be able to work and do those kinds of things. COVID made us better at that. It's just been a season, that I didn't expect here at the end of last year and the first of this year.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But we have, we have weathered another storm, the way I look at it. And our clients, for the most part, I don't think even felt it. They didn't know that the managing a lawyer was I've been in the office half the time I normally am here. I'm leaving today. In fact, I'm leaving today at noon to go over to the hospital. So that it's just one of those things that I think I thought about, well, should I use the podcast time this week to talk about this? And, one of the reasons we do the podcast is, number one, let people in on our personalities. I mean, they've gotten to see your personality, my personality, multiple people from the firm's personality. But also is it was to be transparent as lawyers. I think a lot of times people they don't think their lawyers are like human. They think that we're something else. And we have the same problems you have, and we have to figure out how to work around those in our personal life so that we can still bring our A game to the office. And so I think it was worth sharing this. It kind of lets that guard down and says, hey, look, we deal with this kind of stuff, and here's how we deal with it, And we're thankful there's a good ending to this one.
You and I haven't talked about it a lot, and it's only because it's like I didn't know all this that was going on, and I didn't really know how to approach it. Like I said, we talked about it a little bit. It's gonna be weird for you to hear me say this. I've prayed about it and about a happy outcome. And if something were to have gone in the opposite direction, to give you all the strength and comfort that you all need. So, but I'm so happy to hear that it's what you just said. That he went from 2 steps to now like 15 steps just based off that one test that they've done to give him to figure out the medicine. And that's the crazy thing. It's like, how many different blood cultures are there? Is there not like a all-inclusive blood culture you could do? So they say, it's histoplasmosis.
Well, the reason for that is what they have to put in the mixing tube essentially to react to the blood. Like if you put too many of those reactors in a tube, then it throws off the test.
Right.
So you have to, there's these blood cultures. That is something my cousin Lisa could probably talk to us about this.
That's what makes me a hypochondriac and scares me the most, is like our bodies are so incredibly fragile, and we've come so far in the medical field that a lot of these things that at one time probably killed us all the time, like this, they don't even think about anymore, but it's still there and it still pops up. And it takes that one person to go, oh, wait, what about this? What if that doctor had never come along? Would someone else have thought of it? Was it, it's just like, obviously you don't want to think about the what ifs, but still it's like, that's what freaks me out about the medical field. I'm just sitting here the whole time. I'm like, they've done so many blood tests at this point. How would they not have caught that? But I don't know. But I'm glad they did.
Well, I thought the same thing. I'm like, and I think that you start with the broad spectrum stuff, and then you start to narrow it down, get
right.
And maybe there were other tests that haven't been done that could have been done, but the right one was done at the right time.
Right.
And so,
well, it sounds like he's going to bounce back.
We hope.
And like you said, well, I guess there's all like with his heart and stuff like that. I'm sure there's going to be some long-term fallout or whatever, but he's up, he's walking around, he's improving, and he's still alive, and that's what's most important.
That's exactly right. And one thing I'll touch on before we conclude, you and I have talked a lot about prayer and how sometimes you're like, well, why doesn't God,
Yeah.
I can honestly say that my mom and I have felt people's prayers. Mm-hmm. It's a comfort. It's a comfort to know that it's not just me talking to God about what's going on with Dave, that there are other people bringing Dave to God's, and obviously God knows what's going on. And there was a number of people, PJ. My mom shared her faith with everybody that walked into that room. To this day, we'll never know if one of those people, something my mom said, would make a difference, and they'll now spend eternity in heaven. But maybe God was saying, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you guys the answer for Dave. But there's 2 or 3 people that are going to come into this room that I need to walk into this room because you're faithful. And once they've walked into this room and they hear this, okay, I'll give you the answer to Dave, because you guys are so faithful in telling everybody about your faith that I need to march some people in and out of that room. Techs, nurses, doctors, whatever. And then after you've done that, after you've been, you're going to get your answer on Dave. I don't know if that's how God works, but I'll tell you this: I have felt a comfort. And I know that my mom has made that room. Let me tell you one thing. This is funny. So my mom asked me to pick up some cookies and some bread and some candy. And
that sounds like a great sandwich right there.
Cookies, bread, and candy. Yeah. She says, get some cookies, get some dessert breads, get some candies and some snacks. I was like, Mom, I know you won't eat this stuff. Why? And she goes, over the holidays, our room is going to be the hospitality room for all of the nurses, all of the janitors. And I was like, so she went over and she cleared off this. It was supposed to have medical supplies on it. She put them all over here, and she put these little towels out in these bowls, and she had everything from candied peanut M&Ms to these gigantic cookies to dessert breads and things. And she told all the nurses, you go tell nurses on the other side of the floor, go tell them that we've got this in here. And I'm telling you, through the holidays, it was a hospitality room.
Oh, I'm sure.
They would come in there and talk to you even though Dave wasn't their patient.
Yeah. Oh, people don't pass up on free.
Isn't that awesome?
Free food.
And, but I mean, who turns their hospital room into a hospitality room?
Your mom.
That's exactly right.
There was that one doctor or nurse that came in and went, all those medical supplies you just moved were sterile, but
right.
But it's okay.
You're getting charged for them,
right?
So anyway,
oh hey, real quick, speaking of cookies and all that, I hear somebody had crumble cookie.
I did. Missy surprised me with peanut butter crumble cookie.
It's amazing.
Have you had it?
Oh yeah.
The one that looks like that?
Not the one. It didn't have the peanut butter cups on it, but it did have like the peanut butter cream stuff on top of it. Yeah.
Oh no, that's the one I got last night. Let me tell you, no finer dessert has ever graced the mouth of Travis Holtree than that there peanut butter cookie that my wife bought me from Crumble Cookie last night. And yes, I know your girlfriend commented on my comment on Facebook that she just doesn't allow herself to go there.
I keep telling her that I'm going to go there, and she's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because we've talked about it on the podcast where it was it was the first time I ate at Crumble Cookie in Evansville before it was here. Because we went, she was like, hey, we should go. And there was a line out the door, and it was cold out. And I was like, who waits in the cold for cookies? But after I ate there that first time, I would wait out in the cold 100 more times.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, their cookies are incredible.
That was my second Crumble Cookie. The first one I had was their chocolate chip, and it was good. I mean, it was so rich, though. Like after eating one, I had a bellyache.
Yeah.
This one is the perfect balance. Like it's not so rich that it makes you go, ugh.
Yeah.
But it tastes.
There's a science behind it.
It was just, oh my gosh.
I'll say this. Okay, I like pumpkin pie. Okay?
I do too.
But like pumpkin spice stuff, I don't like any of that.
Not me either.
I'm not a fan of anything pumpkin spice, but I love pumpkin pie. We went in there. This was last year. She got a pumpkin spice cookie, and I was like, ugh. Because we did the thing where you can get 3 cookies to try 3 different ones. It was the best one out of all of them. It was amazing.
Well, I'm telling you.
And I don't like pumpkins until this.
So I can't wait till they bring it back. I'll try it. But I mean, now my only fear is that they have all these good cookies and I won't try them because if they ever have the peanut butter, that's the one.
Yeah.
But they switch them up every week.
That's what I was going to say. Like
they do that every
they don't
week.
Do the,
they
I mean,
do that to
always
keep
have
you coming in.
I think they always have the chocolate chip and all the other ones because it's like what they have 6 ones you can choose from.
6 you can choose from.
But yeah, they switch it up and it's something different every
time.
They
keep you coming back.
Oh yeah. I've had their white chocolate macadamia nut. I've had the chocolate fudge cookie, I've had too many of their cookies.
Okay.
This was last year, though.
And now they have it here. It's just down the road.
I haven't been to the one here since they opened.
PJ.
I'm so tempted, but I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Well, Crumble Cookie, there you go. That's a free plug from Foreman Watson Holtry.
This episode brought to you by
Crumble
Cookie.
This has been Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com. Check us out on all of our platforms of social media. Check out our website. If we can ever help you, please let us know. Until next time, thank you and God bless.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of 2 mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!